Hey everyone, welcome to the Two Car Pros channel. My name is Ryan and today I'm going to show you exactly how to replace the rear window regulator and motor for a 2008 Chevrolet Impala. Now this is for the rear doors. This is not for the front two doors, this is for the rear two doors. And I'm doing the repair on the driver's side because that's the one that's out. But the passenger side rear door is exactly the same, just on the other side of the car. Now window regulators are always a little intimidating when you first start just because doors kind of seem a little complicated and difficult to get into, but I promise if you follow this guide along, it will be very easy and you'll make short work of it. With all out of the way, let's jump in. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to actuate the door handle and use a small prying implement right here to kind of remove this little cover. And then we're going to take a T30 Torx. Now these fastener removers can be a little difficult to find, so I've left a link down below in the description and in the YouTube's product page. You can just get that out of there, and you can also just use a ratchet. You don't have to use an electric implement. There we go, set that aside, don't lose it. This looks tricky to find. And then we're going to come right here on this portion of the door panel, small prying implement, kind of put it here on the left side and pry it out towards you. And there's a little bolt sitting right in that hole. And then right here is a 7mm fastener we just need to remove. I always find that 1/4" drive stuff is handy in these little bit lighter duty applications. There we go, looking good. And then right here where you put your hand to close the door, just remove this little cover. And that will uncover 2 more fasteners. And these are T30s as well. And the way you differentiate them from the other one is that these are just longer. So right here on the door, right next to where the lock indicator is this black piece of plastic. And you just pull that straight out, just like that. They're usually not too difficult to get off. So before we start trying to take the door panel off, let's go ahead and lock it. It'll just make it a little bit easier to get the panel up and over the indicator. And then I have this nice body clip puller tool, and the link is down below in the description. And then just kind of gently go around the door panel. There we go. So once the door's kind of looking like this, kind of floppy at the bottom, go up with it like this, because it's kind of like a claw. It's kind of like this, and you need to come up. And then the panel should just kind of float freely. And then right here on the back of the door panel, this is where the door handle actually actuates the cable to open the door latch mechanism, is this ball and cable situation. And what you need to do is get some pliers or a standard screwdriver down there. And this is tricky, I won't lie to you. And just kind of pry it up and out so the ball falls out of its home like that. That is honestly the hardest part of this job. And then you can just kind of massage this clip out. It looks like it has 2 tangs. I'm sorry, I wish I could show you this better on camera. It's got 2 tangs. There we go. That's not too bad. So you see the 2 tangs, both of these need to be pinched inward like this, and then the whole body of the thing can slip out. And then for the switch itself, on these cars, I've found that trying to get the plug out is like really challenging. So what I do is I just take a small prying implement and just pry each side of the switch. And then the switch can just come right out. I've always felt that makes it a little bit easier. And then next, remove the rest of this insulation. Don't worry about ripping it a little bit. It's not the end of the world. There we go. Right here is the main power connection for the window motor. So just come here, push your thumb on the safety and pull the power connector straight out. And then right here on the bottom of the door glass are the actual bolts that hold the clamps that hold the regulator to the glass, and they're 10mm. Just remove them. There we go. Now there's nothing holding the glass to the regulator, so be careful. And the next step I like to do is pull the door glass carefully up and into its most top position possible. And be careful, don't let go of the glass. It can fall down to the door and shatter into a billion pieces. So maybe have a neighbor help you, friend, family member, something like that. And then just tape the door glass in place. I like using this painter's tape. It seems to work pretty well. Strapping tape works pretty well too. Now we're pretty sure the door glass doesn't go anywhere, we can continue. So next we can remove the 6 bolts holding the motor and regulator assembly together onto the door. And they're 10 millimeters. Just take the bolts fully out, we don't need them anymore. So now we can fish our regulator and motor assembly out of the car. Be careful, sheet metal is sharp and it can cut you pretty good. And we can just remove that. And we can see why this was never going to work again. Look, the plastic clip that's supposed to attach to the regulator has completely broken off. So this was never going to work again. Into the trash it goes. And here is our new motor and regulator assembly. And the link is located down below in the description. Now they are side specific. So this is left rear or driver rear. When an automotive part says left or right, it's always in reference to where the driver is seated. And yes, I know in different countries they're on different sides, but I didn't make up the rule, it's just the way it is. But we're doing the driver here today, so I'll put the driver link down below in the description, as well as the passenger, and I'll clearly label everything. This is just a knockoff unit. You can, of course, spring for the more premium AC Delco unit, but this one will be fine. So just kind of fold it into position. And before we bolt it back into its home, go ahead and plug it in, because I've noticed on this unit, the plug is kind of further away and it's difficult to get to. So just plug it in before you bolt anything up. And move the motor over. Don't worry, you can't get it wrong. It only goes on the one way. And then tighten it down. Don't overdo the tightness on those either, just medium tight's fine. And then we're going to reuse the bolts we took out of the old rail here. And you can just kind of start them in the bigger holes here. And then just slide them down in place like that. And then don't forget to put this 3rd bolt in. Now that one can kind of be easy to forget, especially because I don't think it had that when we took it off. That's all right. And just kind of line it up where the witness marks were for the washers, the shoulders rather. And then just tighten it down a little bit. Now I'm carefully taking the tape off of the window, and I'm going to gently, very gently, lower the window down into place until it's on those tangs like that. And you'll see that there's a little bit of play here. There we go. But you'll see that they'll have these little fingers right here, and these little teeny tiny green fingers need to be on top of this side of the metal piece on both sides. There's 2 sets of this exact setup. You'll see them. Then we can go ahead and replace the bolts that actually clamp the regulator to the glass. And leave them both loose before you start tightening them down, so you can kind of jimmy them in there a little bit. And I'm not going to go crazy, I'm just going to bring them down to touch. And then I'm just going to finish tightening them with a hand ratchet. Just wrist tight, we don't want to break the glass. There we go. That looks really, really good. And then of course, before we put the door back together, let's test it, make sure the window regulator works. Just gonna use the driver's side with the key in the ignition position, not with the engine on. Here we go. And there we go, looks like it's working pretty good. Yeah. Now it's time to reattach our door handle. And the good news is, usually putting them on is a little easier. Just slide this bit into its house, like that. Then this is kind of the tricky part. Grabbing the ball end with a pair of needle nose. And then just placing it in its home. It might take you a couple tries. Extra tail on it. Makes it a little easier to put into its home. There we go. Something like that. pull on it to make sure it's not going to come out. And then actuate it a few times. There you go. And then we can just put the window switch back into its home. This is why I like to leave them plugged in, because when it's time to put it back, you just push it in place and you're done. It's that easy. And then the trick to putting the door panel back on is paying attention to this little lip right here and the corresponding lip here on the door panel and the door lock indicator. So the first thing I do is lasso that door lock indicator into its home, and then you just kind of have to feel it out and see if it's in that ledge. And you'll see a big gap if it isn't. There we go. And then once we're sure that it's kind of wedged this way onto the door, just give it some taps all the way around the door, and that'll push the body clips back into their homes. Then we can replace our T30 Torx fasteners we removed earlier. You know, just medium tight on those. They don't need to be crazy tight. And of course, don't forget to replace that. Drop it right in. And then replace the shorter T30 in the door handle area. Just wrist tight is perfectly fine. And then replace the bolt hiding trim piece. There we go. Then of course, replace our little 7mm fastener. This is really not tight at all, trust me. Just like wrist tight with a 1/4" drive ratchet is all you can ask of that. I think the torque spec for that is like 18 inch-pounds. It's like nothing. And then line up our little trim piece, hook it on the right side first, and then push it in on the left. And of course, you can't forget this little black piece trim. You just line up the holes like this and give it a nice little tap, and there you go. So that's how to put new window regulator and motor in your 2008 Chevrolet Impala. This is actually pretty easy. You just got to remember that these cars are sort of made to a budget, and that budget works in your favor to make things less complicated and therefore easier on you. This is definitely something anybody could do with a T30 Torx and a basic tool set. And of course, all the links are located down below in the description for your convenience. If you took this to a mechanic, they are probably going to charge you probably $350 to do this job. This is actually pretty easy, and I think the Regulator, the knockoff one that I got, was like $40, something like that. But if you do plan on keeping this car for a while, I do recommend springing for the AC Delco option, a more premium unit, because it's going to last longer and cost you less money in the long run. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider clicking that join button down below. Becoming a member is a direct way to help the channel out and support what I do here. Barring that, a subscription, like, and comment go a long way in the algorithm to help my channel out. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.